New project, new hair. Looks so young and sexy. Today's video is a simple one, but it's an exciting one because every tool in this garage, router table, table saw, dust collector, belt and disc sander, drill press, bandsaw, jointer, all of them have wheels. Even my planer has a box with wheels under it that I mounted it on top of. And my lathe stand, I built a stand for my lathe that has casters on it too. So everything in here can move except one thing, and that's what we're gonna solve today. This is my drum sander. It's facing the wall because it was bad, I guess, I don't know. But it's it is a Jet 1632 Plus. And 1632 means that the conveyor here is 16 inches wide, but it has an open end. So you can put something that is 32 inches in, put it through, and then flip it around and do the other 16 on the other side. 1632 also featured the Battle of Rain, April 15th, part of the 30 Years' War. Gustavus Adolphus II managed to beat Tilly's Catholic League armies for the second time that year. Tilly was severely wounded and would perish 15 days later on April 30th. Inside here, it is a little gummed up. Some controls over here. This is a conveyor belt. It feeds the wood through. You've got a little knob here where you can adjust the height of this whole thing. Goes up and down on there. And the wood comes out looking gorgeous. And there's other belts and stuff. You can swap this out to, do finer grit passes and stuff. And this is where the dust collector, which is right behind me, it's where that hose goes to suck all the dust out. The problem with this is that it's just sitting on rubber feet right now. And it's really heavy, and the shop's not that big. You see I'm kind of pinned in by stuff here. So I need to be able to move stuff around. So I need a base on this thing that lets me roll it around. So if you look at the jointer here, a little 6-inch jointer, it's got a little rolling base, and that's just made with pine. But the bandsaw here is on a base, it's the same base from Rockler, these little brackets you buy. But this one is using a wood called Mangaris, M-A-N-G-A-R-I-S. Mangaris is a trade name for a particular quality level of a wood called red balau, or I think that's how you say it, B-A-L-A-U. I also have another one over here on my drill press, and this lets you step to lift up the back onto those two wheels at the back, and then you can pretty easily roll it around. And then you do this, and it comes down with a crash. I said, yay, here is another one of these bases. I was glad I had one, but it wasn't. It's just a bunch of wood. But wait, over here, there's a promise of another one. Right under here. Ugh, there's heavy stuff on top of it. Okay, I moved it off camera. Now, I gotta cut the tape. Hey, there we go. All right, there it is, the mobile base. So what I got to do now is measure out the base of that drum sander and just cut 4 pieces and drill some holes and bolt it all together. There's the back if you wanted to look at that. Tools are all set up and ready to go. Why do I keep doing this? Okay, we got to figure out how wide this thing is. 28.5, we'll say. And 19 that way. If you want to do the lumber next, I actually want to do the pedal next because it's a standalone thing I can keep doing right here. So we're going to use the pedal and this thing. I think a washer goes inside of here between those two. And then, that's why there's so much space between these two. One goes in here between these two. Okay. And then another big washer goes on the outside. And finally, hey, that was easy. Got it. I did it the right way. Cool. This goes on this way, and then you step down on the pedal there. Yeah, this go on the side, and and we'll sit low until you press down on this pedal, which will push down the wheel enough, and it has two flats that lock against that metal plate there and there. 7/16. All right, so that's what we need to drill through to make the holes for all these through holes there. Okay, I'm gonna do this a little bit differently than the instructions because I don't trust my measurements. They're kind of a weird base shape that I don't trust, and then it wants you to add 1/4 inch to it. But then there's the wheel that sticks in, and I don't want to mess this up because I've had these 4 pieces of Mangaris wood for like 20 years, 15 to 20 years. And they're the right wood for this job. They're the only wood that I have right now for this job that works best for this job. So I'm going to kind of assemble and check as I go in a weird way. Okay, I'm just gonna loosely put that on there. When I tighten this, it'll bend the frame and clamp the wood in there better. Okay, I already screwed up, but I don't blame it on me. I blame it on the fact that it is, what is that, 98 degrees? So my brain's a little bit fried. I'll show you how I messed up here. So when there's a wheel going through these holes, the wood can only come up to about here. Can't come all the way to the edge of this because the wheel actually sticks into this area a little bit. This is one of the reasons why I wanted to not just go by the instructions. So my problem was I used one of these long sticks. It's the second longest one, which I had wanted to go across the front. But the wheel is going to be at the back facing this way. So by putting this stick in here and marking where the holes were, what I was doing was saying this is going to be one of the short pieces. The problem is instead of, stopping a little before here, when it's on the front or back piece, it's actually supposed to go all the way to the edge, like there. And then the wheel would be here on this side, just like it is here. It would be sticking out here. Actually, I'm wondering now, it's hard to hold on to. I could just use that exact same hole. That's cool. It goes right to the edge. I could just use that hole. So this would line up something like that, and this like this. Got the outer edge touching the outer part of the leg. Now what I want to do is mark where I would cut it, which would be kind of along this line. And then I'll take it out and measure it, and I'll see if it all works out the way the instructions say it should work out. And if so, I can cut this one to length, and I can cut the one on the back to length. Okay, I look back at my footage, and when I measured across the front of there at the beginning of this little project, I measured 28 and about a half. It was slightly less, but I rounded up to about 28 and a half. We are at 28 and a little more than a half. As the instructions said to add 1/4. I'm going to reread them just to make sure. So yeah, I think 28 3/4 is probably the right measurement for this. Here's hoping, because I can only cut these once. All right, so I was able to go through and just line up the edge of the hole there. This will give us holes that match in their distances across, at least, because I'm going to do the other ones from the edge. And I just remembered I don't want the one at the end. That was a mistake. So I'm going to cross it out. It is very hot in here. This one was a mistake. We want those two. think that's pretty perfect. Okay, and I got the two stacked, and they are the same size, so that's going well. I've been trying to understand something, which is if we look at the back beam here, it makes sense that this piece would be the length of your tool plus a little bit of clearance, just to give a little bit of extra space for the tool to fit in there. But how does this one work that way if you've got to stop short for the wheel? And then I realized it's not stopping right where the end of the bracket is, it's stopping over here, flush with the outer edge of the frame. So I guess we can trust using the measurement plus 1/4 inch. Okay, well that didn't go off perfectly. I kind of rushed the setup and I had the dust collector in the way. That's something I'm gonna have to get better at remembering to do. I used to be better at it, but I'm just getting started again in the shop. So I'm thinking that I'll use this pencil widthwise in there, and that will still leave plenty of room for the hole for the bolts, and it'll be the same on both. And I don't have to worry about, you know, not touching the wheel or eyeballing how far I back off the wheel. Okay, I was just installing the hardware to lock this together, and I remembered I've got these leveling feet that need to go here, opposite the wheels. Okay. This would be easier to do when it's flipped over, but okay. Okay, we got our 1/2 inch socket. Okay, to get this level, by leveling the leveling foot over here, I think what I'm going to do is get my Wixie level leveled to the table, and then I can stick it here, and then I can play with this. Tighten this. Oh, 0.1, good enough. And that's it, except one thing. The pedal to raise it and move it. These are really meant to be undone so that you can take the thing off the front and put it away so you don't trip over it. I tripped over that one today, the one sticking off the front. There's no room for it to go behind that one. But on this one, what you could do is flip this around, put it backwards, and then just drop these back through. Loosely tighten them up, and it would be like a way to store it when you're not moving it. So we'll do 8 1/4. Let's see if we got it. Looks like it. And that is it. Ooh. That's it. Very easy to roll, one hand. And now it is solid. Let's test this theory that we can just move it the other way. So now I won't trip. Some of you may have noticed that early in the video I mentioned that the dust collector was facing the door, the wall. Yeah, I put the machine on the base backwards. So I'm gonna try something crazy here. That wasn't too bad. I'll do these just for consistency. Okay. Hey, look at that. All right, it actually worked. And I can freely slide this out. Turn it around. Slide it back under. We've got to clean up after ourselves. Helicopters. So what I wanted to try now was actually using this thing for the first time in 14 years. So I've got a piece of the wood that we used for the decking on the case rack. If you go watch the case rack video, you'll see me put all the planks. They were these 19-inch long pieces of old fence board. Right, picket fence boards with the dog-eared tops. I want to see what it looks like when we pass this thing through the drum sander, and we're going to use the dust collector on it too. And as a reminder, this is kind of gummed up, so not the best to be using, but we're just going to try it. So this is what an old aged fence board looks like after being outside for a long time. And after we run it through the drum sander, it looks like this. You can also just lightly go over this with an orbital sander or put a finer grit into the drum sander and do a nicer pass. All right, that's gonna do it for today, but that gets another key bit of infrastructure done in the garage. The drum sander is not just another tool, it's kind of core to a lot of the things I do, which is using found and reclaimed wood, trying to repurpose things that people would just throw into a dump, right? So there are two things that a drum sander is really good for, and one is to make old boards look new. The other really nice thing that it does is just like a planer, but to me a lot less loud and horrible and a lot more fun. You can run them through there and make them look really clean and new, and also have them all be like accurately the same thickness. So that's going to be a huge new power back in the garage, an old new power dusted off and ready to go again. So thanks for coming with me today on this minor journey. It's one more bit of infrastructure done, and there's a bunch more on the way, and then we're going to start building real things. I'll see you next time.